Husband's sister hates me because her parents like me. Better at our wedding, she tried to announce her pregnancy, but her husband revealed she was cheating, the baby wasn't his. You ever meet someone who just hates you on sight? Not for anything you did, not for how you treated them, but just because you exist? That was my sister-in-law, Amelia. From the moment I started dating my now husband, Noah, she treated me like I was a stain on her designer life. I'm not exaggerating. She literally sneered the first time she met me. And I tried. Oh my God, I tried. Because Noah and I, we clicked from the start. Real, stupid, annoying movie-type love, the kind that makes you cringe when someone else has it. We met at a mutual friend's birthday party. I spilled wine on his white shirt. He cracked a joke instead of getting mad. We laughed. He asked if I wanted to get pizza. I said yes. 3 years later, he proposed with that same wine-stained shirt wrapped around the ring box. Don't worry, he'd washed it. But the Amelia problem, it never went away. In fact, the closer we got, the worse she became. The golden girl. Let me paint the picture. Amelia was the golden child. Blonde, tall, effortlessly graceful. The kind of girl who looked like her Instagram was filtered in real life. Grew up getting everything she wanted. Private schools, ballet classes, European summers, Ivy League education. She wasn't just liked by her parents, she was worshipped. At least that's what she always told other people. But here's the twist. When I entered the picture, something shifted. Noah's parents, Linda and Robert, were surprisingly down to earth despite their wealth. Linda loved to cook and always asked me for recipes. Robert loved books and was impressed I was a teacher. They were warm, affectionate, and respectful. The exact opposite of how Amelia treated me, which infuriated her. She'd make these little digs every time I was around. Oh, you're a teacher? That's nice. You must really love kids to settle for that salary. You wore that dress to dinner? Bold choice. Wow, my mom never compliments my cooking like that. You get the idea. I kept quiet, smiled. I didn't want to start drama. But she kept escalating. The engagement dinner disaster. After we got engaged, Noah's parents threw a small engagement dinner at their house. Nothing fancy, just family and close friends. Amelia showed up 30 minutes late in a skin-tight red dress. Everyone else was in semi-casual clothes. Her fiancé, Tyler, looked visibly uncomfortable the entire night. He barely spoke. Didn't touch her once. She acted like a peacock, flaunting, loud, interrupting every conversation. Midway through dinner, she cleared her throat and said loudly, "Well, I suppose now is as good a time as any. We have a big announcement too." Everyone turned. My stomach dropped. She smiled dramatically, grabbed Tyler's hand and said, "We're pregnant." I blinked. "What?" Linda looked stunned. Robert coughed. Noah froze. Tyler didn't smile. He didn't even nod. Instead, he just stared at his plate. There was a weird, cold silence. And then Amelia added, "So, lots to celebrate tonight. Right, Dad?" Robert forced a smile. Yes. Congratulations." Linda awkwardly clapped. I looked at Noah, who leaned in and whispered, "That felt off." We shrugged it off, but something about Tyler's face haunted me. The bridal shower backstab. 2 weeks before the wedding, Linda hosted my bridal shower. It was sweet, intimate, and honestly one of the best days of my life. Until Amelia showed up, late again, with a gift that was clearly rewrapped. The card still said, "Happy birthday," inside. She sat in the corner on her phone the entire time. Didn't even bother participating in the games. Then, when I opened gifts, she loudly asked, "So, when are you guys planning on starting a family? You know, since you're not getting any younger." I laughed it off, said we were focusing on our careers first. She rolled her eyes and said, "Some people just aren't cut out for motherhood." The room went dead silent. Linda said, "Amelia, that's enough." Amelia sipped her mimosa and said, "What? Just being honest." That was the moment I realized this wasn't jealousy. This was war. The wedding. Our wedding was a dream. Outdoor garden venue, string lights, late September breeze. My dress fit perfectly, my makeup stayed intact, and Noah cried when I walked down the aisle. Actual tears. It was beautiful. The reception, even better. Everyone was dancing, laughing, toasting. I felt like I was floating until I saw Amelia standing up, tapping a champagne glass. Oh no. The DJ stopped. People turned toward her. She grinned, placed a hand on her stomach, and said, "I just wanted to say a few words as the real bride of honor tonight." A few people awkwardly chuckled. She continued, "I know today is all about the happy couple, but life's full of surprises, and sometimes those surprises come in the form of tiny feet and little heartbeats." I felt my jaw clench. She turned to Tyler. "So, honey, tell them the big news." Tyler stood up. and I swear it felt like the air itself paused. He looked around the room, then down at his feet, then slowly back up. And he said, clear and loud, "There is no big news. She's pregnant, yes, but the baby isn't mine." Gasps, literal gasps. You could have heard a pin drop. Amelia froze, eyes wide. Tyler continued, voice shaking but steady. "I found the texts, the hotel receipts, the photos. She's been cheating on me for months. I tried to keep it together, but I'm done." He took off his wedding band, placed it on the table, and walked out. Amelia screamed his name, ran after him, but it was too late. Noah turned to me and whispered, "Well, that just happened." The aftermath. The rest of the night was a blur. Guess whispered. Amelia didn't come back. Linda apologized profusely. Robert looked like he aged 10 years in an hour. I should have felt bad, but honestly, I felt free. Because for the first time since meeting Amelia, I wasn't the bad guy. Her own lies caught up with her, and she did it to herself. Linda later told me she had suspected something was off. Tyler had confided in her the week before, but she never thought he'd say anything publicly. Apparently, he chose my wedding as the moment because, and I quote, "if she was going to try to ruin someone else's big day, she could take the fallout too." Mic dropped. And it gets better. You think that's the end? Nope. Turns out the man Amelia cheated with was her married coworker with 3 kids. When his wife found out, she posted all the screenshots online. Emails, nudes, voice messages. It went viral in our community. Amelia lost her job, got served with a defamation suit for trying to slander Tyler afterward, and now lives with her friend in a 1-bedroom apartment because her parents refused to let her move back in. I've kept my mouth shut through all of this, but every now and then, when Noah and I sit on our porch with a glass of wine, I look at him and say, she really should have picked a different wedding to ruin. The next morning after the wedding, Noah and I woke up in our hotel suite to a phone that would not stop buzzing. Texts, calls, voicemails, DMs. Some were from people who'd been at the wedding. Others, people we hadn't spoken to in years who somehow heard about what went down. The story had legs. Apparently, one of our guests had recorded Tyler's speech and uploaded it to TikTok. By the time we got back from our honeymoon, the video had over 3.2 million views. And the internet had opinions. Everyone loves a villain, if it's not you. Comment sections were wild. Cell tried to hijack the wedding and got wrecked. That husband had the audacity and I respect it. You just know she wore white too. Tell me she wore white. She didn't, but it was off-white. Close enough. One comment that stuck with me said, "People like that are never sorry. They're only sorry they got caught." That one hit home, because right after we got back, Amelia started texting me. The first message, "Hey, I think we should talk. I'm going through a lot. I didn't mean for things to happen that way. No apology. Just vibes." I ignored it. A few days later, "I know I've been tough on you, but I never hated you. I was just jealous. I'm only human. Let's not let this ruin the family." Again, no mention of the wedding disaster. Still, I stayed quiet. And then she showed up at our front door. Amelia's Oscar-worthy performance. She looked rough. Not her usual glammed-up self. Messy bun, dark circles, oversized hoodie. She didn't even have makeup on, which for Amelia was like a pig flying through a hurricane. Noah entered the door. His jaw clenched the second he saw her. I stood behind him, arms folded. She said, "I just want 5 minutes." Noah looked at me. I nodded. We let her in. She sat on the edge of our couch like it would bite her. She didn't say anything for a full minute, just stared at the coffee table like it owed her money. Finally, she sighed and said, "I messed up. I know I did, but Tyler shouldn't have said all that at your wedding. It wasn't fair to you." Oh, so that's what she was sorry for? The timing? She kept going. "You have to understand. My whole life I was the favorite. And then you came along and suddenly my parents were acting like you were this perfect angel. Like they finally had the daughter they wished I was." There it was, the core of it. I said, "I never tried to replace you. I just tried to be kind." She laughed bitterly. "Yeah, well, kindness looks like competition when you've always been insecure." I wasn't sure if that was an apology or a therapy session. Noah cut in. "So what do you want, Amelia?" She looked up at him, dead serious. "I want you to talk to Mom and Dad. They won't return my calls. They said I embarrassed the whole family, but if you tell them to forgive me, they might." My jaw literally dropped. You destroy someone's wedding, cheat on your husband, get caught in 4K, and then ask the bride and groom to run PR for you? I said, "No, that's not happening." She stared at me. "You're loving this, aren't you?" "No, actually," I said calmly. "It's exhausting. I just want to be left alone to live my life." She stood up, tears forming in her eyes. "You're not as innocent as you think. One day, they'll turn on you too. And with that, she walked out. The parents' response. The next week, Linda and Robert invited us over for dinner. I wasn't sure what to expect. Would they defend her? Would they ask us to forgive and forget? Instead, Linda poured me a glass of wine and said bluntly, "We're sorry for ever letting her treat you that way." Robert added, "We enabled her behavior for years. That's on us." They weren't cutting her off entirely, but they made it clear. Amelia needed to grow up. "She's in her 30s, Linda said. "We're done rescuing her from fire she lights herself." It felt surreal. These were the same people who once acted like Amelia could do no wrong. Now, they saw her for who she was. And they saw me. The private message from Tyler. About a month after the wedding, I got a message request on Instagram. It was from Tyler. I hesitated to open it, but curiosity won. "Hey, I just wanted to say thank you. Not for anything you did, but for the way you didn't retaliate. You could have dragged her, publicly, and you didn't. That says a lot. Also, congrats on the wedding. Despite everything, it was beautiful. You and Noah seem like the real deal. Hold on to that." I responded, "Thank you, and for what it's worth. I'm sorry you had to go through that. You didn't deserve any of it. We haven't spoken since, but I hope he's doing better. He deserved a better ending than the one Amelia tried to write for him." 6 months later, Amelia tried to rebrand. New Instagram handle, blonde turned brunette, posted quotes like "rise from the ashes" and "growth is uncomfortable, but necessary." She even started an Etsy shop selling hand-painted mugs with words like "empowered" and "messy but thriving." Her baby bump post disappeared entirely, which meant either she wasn't pregnant to begin with, or the father wasn't in the picture anymore. Linda told me she only responds to Amelia's texts once a week. Robert doesn't respond at all. And Noah, he blocked her entirely. And me, I've never been happier. Not because Amelia got exposed, not because people finally believe me, but because I'm free. Free from walking on eggshells, free from trying to prove I belong in a family that now sees my worth without explanation. Sometimes drama doesn't need a revenge plot. Sometimes the truth is enough. And here's the final twist. You know that Etsy shop Amelia started? Turns out the art on the mugs, not hers. She'd been lifting designs from smaller creators on Pinterest. One of them caught her, reported her. The shop got banned. And that's when she sent one final message. "You win." I didn't reply. Because this was never a game. It was a wedding. It was love. It was a life I built without ever trying to beat her. And she lost not because I fought her, but because she fought everyone. Even herself. Update 1. Hi again, everyone. So, I wasn't planning to post an update. I thought my wedding story with Amelia, my, unfortunately, now infamous sister-in-law, was wrapped up neatly with her cheating scandal being exposed at our reception. But life has a funny way of spinning the wheel just when you think the drama's done. It's been a few months since the wedding and a lot has changed. Some things for the better, some definitely not. Here's what happened next, and brace yourself, because Amelia wasn't done with me yet. A month after the final confrontation where Amelia showed up begging for help with her parents, which I obviously declined, she went radio silent. Blocked on Noah's phone. Barely a whisper in the family chat. Linda and Robert had drawn the line, and for the first time in her life, Amelia was facing real consequences. But then she sent me a handwritten letter. Like literal pen and paper, in cursive on monogrammed stationery. Here's part of what it said. "I hope you're satisfied. You've taken everything from me. My family, my reputation, my home. I made one mistake and you let me burn for it. You could have told Tyler privately. But no. You let it all explode at your wedding because you wanted to humiliate me. You're not innocent. You enjoyed it. You always have. You played sweet and humble while poisoning everyone against me. You've ruined my life. And I'm done letting you win." I just sat there, stunned. I'd never told Tyler anything. She was the one who invited disaster by making a public pregnancy announcement at my wedding. She handed Tyler the mic with a smug look and he exposed her. But she blamed me. Noah ripped the letter in half the second he read it. He said, "She's not just delusional, she's dangerous." I thought maybe we'd heard the last of her. Spoiler alert, we hadn't. 2 weeks after the letter, my best friend sent me a link with a "you're not going to believe this" text. It was a post on a local lifestyle and gossip blog, the kind that's known for covering charity events, socialite birthdays, and the occasional scandal. Title: Local teacher accused of orchestrating sister-in-law's divorce in viral wedding video. My heart dropped into my stomach. I clicked the article. There it was, a whole write-up about me. My name, my job, my school. It recapped the wedding video, quoted anonymous family sources saying I'd manipulated the situation and humiliated Amelia intentionally. The kicker? It said I was an aspiring influencer who used her wedding as a platform to go viral. What? Let me be clear. I had nothing to do with that video going viral. I didn't even know someone was recording until after the honeymoon. The fact that they used my real name and mentioned my job, that was dangerous. Parents at my school could see this. My boss could see this. It didn't take a genius to figure out where it came from. Yup, Amelia. I don't like drama. I really don't. But this crossed a line. Noah and I contacted a lawyer the next day. She read the article, gathered the letter Amelia sent me, and said, "You've got a case for defamation and harassment." Even if the blog didn't name Amelia, the lawyer said it was likely she was the anonymous source and we could pursue damages and force a retraction. That same day, my school principal called me into her office. My hands were shaking the whole time. But you know what she said? "Don't worry, I saw the video when it first went viral. Honestly, it made me respect you more for staying so composed. If any parents bring it up, we'll handle it. You're not in trouble." I cried in her office, just full-on emotional release. Because for once, someone saw through the mess. Someone believed me without me having to beg for it. With the blog post not having the effect she wanted, Amelia tried to rebrand again. This time on TikTok. She started posting story times like, "When your family replaces you with your ill, that time I got betrayed by everyone and no one cared. They made me the villain in her love story." She disabled comments, probably because the few that did get through were brutal. But one video caught traction. It was her crying real tears talking about how she had to give up her baby. Yes. She said she lost the baby and implied it was due to stress from public harassment. No mention of the affair, no mention of Tyler, no mention of anything real. Just sobs and vague guilt tripping. Some people bought it, others didn't. But then I got another message, this time from an anonymous account. It said, "You should know she was never pregnant. I work at the clinic she came to for a different reason. She lied to everyone." Now, obviously I can't confirm the source. But it makes sense. Everything about her announcement had been off. Tyler's reaction, the timing, the lack of any follow-up from Amelia, and the fact that there was never a baby registry, a due date, or any medical details. It was all a lie. A twisted, desperate attempt to gain attention, overshadow me, and control the narrative. About a month ago, Linda asked to have a family dinner. Not a please make peace dinner. She made it clear this was for closure. She invited Amelia with strict ground rules, one of which was that I didn't have to say a single word if I didn't want to. We met at their house. Noah and I sat on one side of the table, Linda and Robert in the middle. Amelia walked in last, wearing sunglasses indoors. Yes, really. She sat down, pulled the glasses off, and started crying. Again. "I've lost everything," she said. "I know I made mistakes, but none of you tried to help me." Robert cut her off. "We did try for years, but you crossed every line. This isn't about one mistake. This is about a lifetime of blaming everyone but yourself." Linda added, "You targeted her, repeatedly, and when you got caught, you tried to destroy her. You could have owned up to your behavior, but instead, you made it worse." Amelia looked at me. Her eyes were red and tired. "I'm sorry," she mumbled. I didn't respond. Not because I was trying to be cold, but because I'd already moved on. Her apology was a day late and $1 short. She stood up, gave a shaky breath, and left. We haven't seen her since. Noah and I are doing great. We moved to a new home, a little cottage-style house outside the city. We adopted a rescue dog. We planted tomatoes in the backyard. Life is quiet, peaceful. I still teach. I still bake banana bread every Sunday. And sometimes I reread Amelia's letter just to remind myself how far we've come. Her social media is now private. Her Etsy remains banned. Her family has stopped enabling her. And me, I sleep like a rock. Because in the end, this wasn't a story about revenge. It was a story about someone so determined to be the center of the universe, she imploded under her own spotlight. And all I did was survive it. Noah and I are doing great. We moved to a new home, a little cottage-style house outside the city. We adopted a rescue dog. We planted tomatoes in the backyard. Life is quiet, peaceful. I still teach. I still bake banana bread every Sunday. And sometimes I reread Amelia's letter just to remind myself how far we've come. Her social media is now private. Her Etsy remains banned. Her family has stopped enabling her. And me? I sleep like a rock. Because in the end, this wasn't a story about revenge. It was a story about someone so determined to be the center of the universe, she imploded under her own spotlight. And all I did was survive it. Update 2. Hey again. I didn't think I'd be back so soon. Honestly, I thought things had finally settled down after that last post. Amelia had gone silent. We'd moved to our new home, and for the first time since the wedding, life felt normal again. Peaceful even, but if there's one thing I've learned, it's this. Amelia thrives in silence, because she's always planning something in it. So, here we go again. Here's everything that happened over the last few months, including a baby shower ambush, a blackmail attempt, and a surprise appearance from someone I never thought I'd see again. Buckle up. After everything with Amelia blew over, Noah and I decided we were ready for the next big step, starting a family. We kept it quiet at first, not because we were scared of anything, but because, well, we just wanted it to be ours for a little while. Something private, sacred. When we did tell his parents, they were overjoyed. Linda cried. Robert smiled more than I'd ever seen. We all cried over brunch. It was beautiful. They asked if they could throw us a baby shower. I agreed, with one condition. Amelia is not invited. Linda didn't even flinch. She wouldn't be? Don't worry, we started planning. The theme? Classic storybooks. Where the Wild Things Are meets Goodnight Moon. Warm pastels, cookies shaped like animals, little library card invites. It was everything I dreamed of. Until 2 weeks before the shower, when Linda called me sounding shaken. She showed up, at the house. Amelia had appeared at their door unannounced, crying, begging. But this time, she wasn't asking for forgiveness. She was threatening them. According to Linda and Robert, Amelia walked into their house holding a manila folder. Inside, copies of financial documents. Old ones from years ago showing tax filings, family investments, and a now closed offshore account in Robert's name. Nothing illegal, but definitely sensitive and private. Where'd she get them? Apparently, she'd broken into Robert's old filing cabinet back when she was living with them years ago and took pictures of everything, held onto it just in case. She told them, if you don't help me clean up my reputation and fund my next project, I'll leak this. Maybe to the blog, maybe to someone else. Depends on who pays me first. Linda said she stared at her daughter like she didn't even recognize her. Robert said, you'll get nothing from us. Do what you want. We're done. Then he called his lawyer. And Amelia? She stormed out screaming, you're choosing her over me again. Linda told me about it that night. I felt sick. Not just because of the threat, but because I realized Amelia wasn't finished. She wasn't spiraling anymore. She was calculating. And then came the baby shower. The day of the baby shower was perfect. The decorations, the food, the people. I looked around at everyone who had loved and supported me and felt genuinely grateful. We laughed, played games, opened gifts. And then someone shouted from across the lawn, hey, can someone tell me where Amelia is? The music stopped. People turned. A man stood at the gate wearing dark jeans, an expensive jacket, and sunglasses. He looked around like he expected to be recognized. Linda walked over. Can I help you? He smiled and said, I'm looking for Amelia. I'm the father. My blood turned to ice. Wait, what? The father? This man, let's call him Mark, was confident. Too confident. Linda said calmly, there's no Amelia here, and I think you have the wrong idea. He raised an eyebrow. Isn't this the party for her baby? That's when I walked over, fully ready to drag him out. But before I could say a word, he looked at me and said, you're her sister-in-law, right? She told me all about you, said you were obsessed with ruining her life. Oh, hell no. I said, whatever story she told you, she left out the part where she tried to sabotage my wedding with a fake pregnancy. His face dropped. Fake? Oh yeah. Turns out, Mark thought Amelia was still pregnant. She'd told him the baby was his. They were figuring things out, and she just needed space from toxic people. That's why he came to support her, because he thought this was her baby shower. We talked privately for 10 minutes. I gave him the full story. Showed him the video, the article, the receipts. He was stunned and furious. She told me Tyler abused her, said she lost the baby because of him. I felt my jaw clench. She was still lying, still rewriting the story, still weaponizing people's kindness. Mark apologized profusely and left. And that was the moment I realized something terrifying. Amelia wasn't just spiraling. She was building a new web. And she was telling different lies to everyone in it. After the baby shower incident, Noah and I contacted our lawyer again. We showed her everything, the visit from Mark, the attempted blackmail on his parents, the continued online slander. She said we had enough for a restraining order. We filed and we won. Amelia was legally barred from contacting us, showing up at our home, or appearing at any event where she knew we'd be present. She didn't even show up to the court hearing, sent a typed response saying she was emotionally unwell and unfairly vilified. Fine by me, as long as she stayed away. About 2 weeks later, I got a message I didn't expect. It was from Tyler. Yeah, her ex-husband. The guy who exposed her at our wedding and then disappeared from our lives completely. He'd moved to Colorado, started fresh. New job, new apartment, new friends. He was doing well. He wrote, I heard about the baby shower situation. I'm sorry you're still dealing with fallout from someone I once loved. I just wanted to say you're not crazy, you're not dramatic, you're strong. Amelia once had me convinced that I was the problem, that I was cold, ungrateful, emotionally unavailable. But people like her, they twist reality to survive. You're not just surviving her, you're thriving despite her, and that takes serious strength. I cried reading that. Because people don't realize being the victim of manipulation isn't just about one big dramatic moment. It's about the slow, quiet gaslighting, the whispered lies, the reputation damage, the exhausting pressure to always take the high road. But reading his message reminded me I'm not alone. So where are we now? We're safe. We're preparing for the baby. We're happy. Amelia? According to Linda, she's couch surfing with some friends people she met through TikTok. People who don't know the full story. People who think she's the misunderstood main character in a redemption arc. Let her have them, because I finally realized something I wish I'd known years ago. You can't help someone who loves the chaos more than they love the cure. She doesn't want to get better. She wants to win. And the only way to beat someone like that is to walk away. Update 3. The wedding was supposed to be a celebration of love, a culmination of years of waiting and dreaming. But instead, it turned into a living soap opera, one where the villain didn't even have the decency to leave quietly. I remember standing on the reception stage after Karen had dropped the bombshell. The room had fallen into a stunned silence, save for Priya's stifled sobs. My new husband, Arjun, was at my side, gripping my hand tightly, not because he didn't trust me, but because he didn't trust them anymore. Not his sister, not even now, fully his parents. What none of us knew at that moment was just how deep Priya's lies went, or how much more she was willing to burn down to save face. The lie. She told her parents. The very next day, Arjun and I were supposed to head for our honeymoon, Maldives. A week of sun, beaches, and complete disconnect from the chaos. Instead, we found ourselves holed up in a hotel suite 2 miles from the wedding venue because Priya's lies wouldn't stop. We got the call from Arjun's mom around noon. She says the baby is Karen's after all, his mom said on the phone, her voice laced with both confusion and desperation. She said he panicked and made it up, that she took a test and she's willing to do another if needed. Maybe she made a mistake before. I could feel Arjun's rage growing. His ears turned red, the way they always did when he was about to explode. She's lying again, Mom, he snapped. Don't you see how she's manipulating you? She tried to hijack our wedding to get attention. You want us to believe that? Now she's suddenly telling the truth? I don't know what to believe anymore, she whispered. And that was the beginning of the unraveling. Karen moves out and spills everything. A few days later, we heard from Karan. He reached out to Arjun privately and said he had officially moved out of the house he and Priya shared. Not only that, but he was considering filing for divorce and had proof of the affair, photos, texts, screenshots of chats with the guy she cheated with. I was stupid, Karen said in his message. She made me feel like I was the one failing, like I wasn't good enough, and that's why she had to find comfort somewhere else. I stayed quiet, but after what she did at your wedding, I'm done protecting her. Karen shared everything. It turns out Priya had been seeing a guy from her office for nearly 8 months, and here's the kicker: Arjun's parents knew, or at least his father did. And he didn't say anything. He thought it would blow over, that it was just a phase, that she'd come to her senses and end it before anyone got hurt. Too late. The family split. When Arjun confronted his dad, it wasn't explosive, it was cold, distant. You covered for her, Arjun said. You let her poison everything. You let her almost ruin my wedding, and for what? Because she's your daughter and you didn't want to embarrass her? She's my daughter, his father said quietly, and I love her. But you're right. I let it go too far. Arjun didn't speak to his father again for 2 weeks. Meanwhile, Arjun's mom took it even harder. She felt betrayed not just by Priya, but by her husband too, for hiding the truth and letting her walk into that wedding thinking it would be a joyful family day, not an ambush. It was surreal watching his family fracture in real time, and even more surreal that somehow I wasn't the center of the tension anymore. For years, Priya had made me the villain, the outsider, the one who stole the spotlight, the fake perfect daughter-in-law. But now, All her lies were exposed. And mine, I had none. Priya's last attempt at redemption or manipulation. A week later, Priya asked to meet me, alone. I didn't want to go, I was done. But Arjun said something that stuck with me. People like her hate silence. She wants to be able to say you ignored her. Don't give her that. So I met her, at a coffee shop near her office. She looked pale, frail even. The confident, flashy Priya I had known was nowhere in sight. She sat down across from me, eyes red, face blotchy. I messed up, she began. I know I messed up. I didn't say anything. You don't know what it's like, she continued, to grow up being the one who always gets compared. Even when it's good, being told you're smart, funny, pretty, it becomes pressure. And then you came along and they liked you more. You weren't even trying. There it was, the resentment. Not just over the wedding, but over everything. Over how her parents smiled more around me. How Arjun treated me with softness and respect. How I didn't have to be loud or perfect or dazzling and still people liked me. I got scared, she said. I wanted something that was mine. Something to make people look at me again. And I thought maybe the baby would do that. Make me the center again. But I didn't mean for it to get this bad. I leaned forward and looked her in the eye. You didn't mean to get caught, I said. That's all. You meant for everything else to happen. You meant to stand up at my wedding and take the mic. You meant to humiliate me in front of everyone to feel better about yourself. And you meant to manipulate Karen until he broke. So don't sit here and act like it just got out of hand. She didn't respond, just stared at her untouched latte. I left her there, moving on without them. It's been a month now. Karen filed for divorce officially. Arjun and I went on our delayed honeymoon, and while we were sipping cocktails in the Maldives, we got a photo from Karen of him smiling next to his dog, new apartment in the background, looking genuinely free for the first time in years. Priya. She moved back in with her parents. Word is, she's not talking to her father much anymore. Arjun still hasn't spoken to him either. The family is scarred, but maybe that's okay. Sometimes it's better to know where you stand than to pretend everything is fine. As for me, the outsider, the attention stealer, the girl Priya hated, I got my happy ending. Not because I fought harder or screamed louder or proved myself, but because when it came down to it, I told the truth. And the truth, no matter how long it takes, always wins. Update 4. After Olivia's scandal exploded at our wedding, the days that followed felt like walking through the ruins of a burned down town. I wasn't celebrating. I wasn't smiling. I was just numb. The guests had gone. The decorations were pulled down, but the air was still thick with tension and whispers. Our wedding was the talk of the town, and not for the reasons I wanted. I should have felt vindicated, I guess. Olivia got what she deserved, but instead I felt hollow. And then, out of nowhere, Olivia did something I never, ever expected. She apologized. Not the kind of apology people give when you're caught. Not the fake crocodile tear kind where you're just trying to save face. This was different. She showed up at our doorstep, hair tied back, no makeup, puffy eyes, and her voice shaking. "Can I talk to you?" she asked, standing there with her hand stuffed in her hoodie pocket. I didn't want to let her in. My gut said no. But my curiosity, or maybe my need for closure, overrode everything. I nodded. She sat on our couch like it was made of nails, unable to make eye contact. My husband stood beside me, arms crossed, silent but ready to pounce if she said anything out of line. "I messed everything up," she whispered. "I thought I could hurt you the way I felt hurt. But I was wrong. You didn't steal Mom and Dad from me. They stopped choosing me a long time ago." I didn't say a word. I just let her talk. I wanted to hear the whole thing. I kept chasing their attention, you know? I thought if I was loud enough, dramatic enough, important enough, they'd see me again. But then you came along, and suddenly they were talking about you, praising you, inviting you for brunch, asking for your opinion. She paused, swallowing hard. I was jealous. No, envious. And when I found out I was pregnant, I saw it as my moment. But I was also cheating, and I knew that. Deep down, I knew Ryan wasn't the father, but I was too far into my lie to back out. My husband finally spoke. "You tried to ruin our wedding, Olivia." "I know." She looked right at us then, "and I'm sorry. I am truly sorry." There was silence for a few moments. My emotions were twisted into a confusing knot. On one hand, I was angry, still furious that she tried to sabotage the biggest day of our lives. But on the other hand, there was something undeniably raw about her. She wasn't excusing her behavior. She wasn't shifting blame. She was broken, and she knew it. And then she dropped another bomb. "I'm getting help," she said. "Therapy. I've been going since the night after the wedding. Ryan won't talk to me, and that's okay. I don't expect him to, but I needed to at least say this to you." I didn't forgive her. Not instantly. That's not how trust works. But I did tell her I appreciated the apology, and I told her she needs to continue the work. Not for me, not for the family, but for herself. Because the Olivia I saw that night wasn't evil. She was lost. And underneath all that venom she'd thrown my way for years, there was a wounded girl who never healed. The family fallout. After the wedding, the family dynamics went through a massive shift. Ryan, bless him, moved out the day after the wedding and filed for divorce 2 weeks later. Turns out, he'd known about the affair for a few weeks before the wedding, but hadn't had concrete proof. When Olivia decided to make her announcement, mid-vows, he took that moment to expose everything he had learned. A savage move, but one that was long overdue. My in-laws, meanwhile, were embarrassed. Mortified, actually. Not because their daughter had an affair, but because he enabled her toxicity for so long and failed to see it for what it was. They issued a public apology to us at a family dinner a week later, telling everyone they were ashamed of how they let things spiral. I kept thinking if we coddled Olivia, she'd come around, my mother-in-law admitted, but all we did was let her believe she was untouchable. That dinner marked a turning point. My husband and I made it clear we weren't going to tolerate any form of keeping the peace at the expense of our mental well-being. If Olivia was part of an event, we wanted to know in advance. If she acted up again, we'd walk. No second warnings. Boundaries were officially set. 1 month later, something unexpected. About a month after the wedding, I got a message from Ryan. Hey, just wanted to thank you and your husband for how you handled that night and for not blaming me. I didn't know who to talk to back then, but you two made me feel less alone. It was simple, kind, and I appreciated it. A few weeks later, I bumped into him at a bookstore, completely unplanned. We laughed awkwardly and ended up grabbing coffee. The conversation was easy, genuine. He told me about how he was doing, how he'd started writing again. Apparently, he used to love it before Olivia took over his life, and how freeing it was to finally reclaim his own voice. You know, he said, sipping his espresso. You and your husband, you guys are solid. Don't let all this drama make you question that. I smiled. Thanks, Ryan. That means a lot. He grinned. And I gotta admit, it was kind of badass how you stood up for yourselves. That wedding speech? Legendary. We both laughed. It wasn't a flirtatious encounter, just two people who had both survived Olivia's storm, finding peace in shared experience. But it did leave me wondering how many people in her life she'd managed to hurt without anyone ever speaking up. Olivia's journey and a plot twist. Olivia has continued going to therapy. I know this because her mom mentioned it during a brunch. Apparently, she started working through some deep-rooted abandonment issues and has been journaling as part of her process. I didn't reach out. I didn't want to blur the lines, but I also didn't cut her off completely. Occasionally, she sends me messages, short ones. Saw this and thought of you, or hope your week's going well. I don't always reply, but I don't block her either. Then, about 3 months post-wedding, Olivia did something again. She sent me a letter. Not a text, not an email, a handwritten, heartfelt letter. Inside was a full apology, much more detailed than before. And at the bottom, something unexpected. I know I can never undo what I did, but I want you to know I named my daughter after someone I admire. Her name is Elise, after you, because you showed me what it meant to be strong, to stand up for yourself, to choose love even when hate is easier. I hope one day she learns to be like you. I know I never deserved your kindness, but thank you for showing it anyway. I read that letter 3 times. Then I cried. Not because I forgave her fully, but because it hit me. Maybe people really can change if they're willing to face the ugliest parts of themselves. And maybe, just maybe, the villain in your story isn't a monster. Sometimes, they're just a broken human trying to find their way back. So, where are we now? My husband and I are doing well. Stronger than ever. We just came back from our mini honeymoon in Iceland. Because yes, we decided to do the honeymoon after the wedding drama calmed down. We laughed. We soaked in hot springs. We kissed under waterfalls. We reminded ourselves that our love story is still beautiful, despite the chaos. As for Olivia, she's a work in progress. She still has to earn trust. But I'm rooting for her from a distance. Because while she broke our wedding day, she might have also cracked open the door to becoming a better version of herself. And maybe that's the most unexpected wedding gift of all.